is Western Mass News on ABC 40.
Complete devastation for the people that are going to be going through this ordeal.
Food banks nationwide and right here in Western Mass are on alert, warning struggling Americans that they may miss out on SNAP benefits, more commonly known as food stamps, come November. Welcome to Western Mass News at 4. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Amanda Martin Ryan. Western Mass News reporter Madison Lazowski is live in studio after hearing how one Holyoke Food Pantry is preparing. Madison.
Yeah, Chris and Amanda, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which oversees these programs, warned state agencies that if the government shutdown continues and there's a lapse in appropriations, there won't be enough money to pay full SNAP benefits next month. Here in Massachusetts, over 1 million residents were helped by SNAP last year. That's about 16% of the population. And as of right now, it's unclear whether or not those benefits will be affected here in the Bay State. But local food pantries like Margaret's Pantry in Holyoke are already dealing with an increase of people in need. Brenda LaMagdalene, the manager of Margaret's Pantry, tells Western Mass News that on average they help over 4,000 people per month. And with the uncertainty surrounding the future of SNAP benefits, LaMagdalene says it's about to get a lot more difficult.
Everything has gone up except for our paychecks. And basically, it is really tough out there.
Claims that two specific groups will be hit the hardest: senior citizens who will have to choose between paying for their medications and eating, and families with young kids who have a lot more mouths to feed. We have reached out to the Department of Transitional Assistance, or DTA, and we are waiting to hear back from them. Now, coming up at 5, we'll have more details on how Margaret's Pantry is preparing for the worst case scenario. You'll also hear from Governor Healy in our 5 o'clock hour on what she has to say. And coming up at 6, how you can help those that may be losing these benefits in just over a week from now. It goes beyond just getting them canned goods. For now, reporting live in studio, Madison Lazowski, Western Mass.